Cincinnati Bengals versus Philadelphia Eagles. As the NFL offseason fades in the rearview mirror, the opening week of the 2025 preseason brings up an interconference matchup when the Cincinnati Bengals battle the Philadelphia Eagles in the city of brotherly love Thursday night, and Cincinnati closed the 2024 regular season with 5 straight wins to finish 9-8, but ended up missing the playoffs for the second straight season. Philadelphia went 14-3 in the regular season last year and steamrolled their way to the Lombardi Trophy as they beat the Chiefs 40-22 in Super Bowl 59. In the all-time regular season series between the teams, the Bengals own a 9-4-2 advantage, but the Eagles rolled to a 37-17 road win in the most recent matchup, October 27, 2024. Cincinnati was hot at the end of the regular season, but their slow start to the year left them on the outside, looking in for the postseason with a 9-8 mark. The Bengals hope they can avoid a repeat of last season's 1-4 start, which put them in a hole, including a season-opening defeat at the hands of the Patriots. Cincinnati has some pieces that have to be replaced if they hope to have success. The Bengals have issues on the offensive line, much as they did a season ago. They lost Trent Brown and Alex Kappa from last year's group and have to figure out who will man the guard spots. They also released Zach Moss, who was their starting running back last season, while Mike Hilton and Von Bell are gone from the secondary. Defensively, the ongoing issue with Trey Hendrickson holding in, as he wants a contract extension, could impact the Bengals defensively. That doesn't even cover that Al Golden takes over as defensive coordinator after Lou Anarumo was let go after last season. The Bengals have an explosive offense once again, at least on paper, though if the defense sputters as it did last year, it will be another middle-of-the-road year. Joe Burrow, who led the league with 4,918 passing yards and 43 touchdown passes against 9 picks, is back to run the offense. Jake Browning is still number 2 on the depth chart, while Desmond Ridder and Peyton Thorne will battle for the third QB role. Chase Brown, who ran for 990 yards plus 7 scores while adding 54 catches for 360 yards and 4 more scores, is the number 1 running back. Expect Samaje Perine in another tour of duty with the franchise. Taj Brooks and Gary Brightwell get snaps to try and earn a spot in the running back room. We know the starters in the receiver, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Andre Iosivas, along with tight end Mike Gesicki, though other guys have to step up and earn spots. Jermaine Burton, Charlie Jones, Isaiah Williams, Kendrick Pryor, Cole Burgess, and Mitchell Tinsley look to make a splash. Coach Zach Taylor announced that his starters will see several possessions in this contest, with a bigger workload next week against Washington. On the injury front, tight end Eric Ali Jr., knee, is slated to miss the entire campaign. Guard Lucas Patrick, leg, cornerback Marco Wilson, undisclosed, and defensive end Cedric Johnson, calf, are each listed as questionable. Taylor said Tuesday that Gesicki, Hendrickson, defensive tackle B.J. Hill, along with defensive backs, Cam Taylor-Britt, and Dax Hill all will not play in this contest. Philadelphia had a big season as they rolled to the NFC East crown before downing Green Bay, the Rams, and Washington in the NFC playoffs before battering Kansas City in Super Bowl 59, in a game that wasn't as close as the final score may have indicated. The Eagles now look to defend their title, but they'll have to replace some key contributors, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Milton Williams, Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox, Garrett Bradbury, and Isaiah Rodgers all are gone from last season's unit. While there is plenty of talent in Vic Fangio's defense, the depth did take a bit of a hit, and we'll see how the younger guys like Jihad Campbell, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt, among others, fare with more playing time. The Eagles were 7th in the league in scoring offense, as they averaged 27.2 points per game last season. Jalen Hurts runs the offense after hitting 248 of 361 passes for 2,903 yards with 18 touchdowns and 5 picks. He added 630 yards and 14 scores on the ground. The rest of the depth chart is a jumble, so look for a lot of Tanner McKee, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and rookie Kyle McCord as they try to make a name for themselves. Don't expect a ton of Saquon Barkley, who had a massive workload last season with 348 carries for 2,005 yards plus 13 scores on the ground, while adding 33 catches. He then carried the ball 91 times for 499 yards plus 5 scores and added 13 catches in the postseason. Will Shipley, 4 carries, 77 yards, touchdown, and A.J. Dillon are next in line. The receiver group is headlined by A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Guys like Terrace Marshall Jr., Johnny Wilson, Aeneas Smith, Elijah Cooks, Avery Williams, and Giles Jackson all have an opportunity to make an impact. Coach Nick Sirianni has not made it clear as to how much, if at all, the starters will play, so watch for updates closer to kickoff. Last season, the Bengals saw the overpost an 11-6 mark in their 17 regular season games. In preseason action last season, Cincinnati stayed under the number in 2 of their 3 games, failing to score more than 14 points in any of those contests. Over the last 3 preseasons, the Bengals have gone over the number in 5 of their 9 contests. Philadelphia saw the under go 10-7 in their 17 regular season tilts before going over in 3 of their 4 postseason games. All 3 of the Eagles' preseason games fell under the number last season, reversing a trend that saw the over go 7-1-1 over the previous 3 preseasons, with the Bengals firing their starters on offense while still having a porous defense. The Eagles enter this preseason matchup as the defending Super Bowl champions, but it's unlikely that they'll treat this game with the same intensity or urgency that propelled them through last year's playoff run. With a deep roster and expectations of another extended postseason push, in 2025, Philadelphia is taking a cautious approach in training camp, prioritizing health over reps. That strategy became even more evident after recent injury setbacks, including the concussion suffered by edge rusher Nolan Smith during Monday's practice. While his absence isn't necessarily long-term, the team has no reason to take unnecessary risks with key rotational defenders during an exhibition game. Additionally, star wide receiver A.J. Brown is managing a hamstring injury, another reminder that the Eagles will be in no hurry to put frontline players on the field before the regular season begins. Nick Sirianni has shown throughout his tenure that he uses the preseason sparingly, often resting starters and opting to evaluate depth players instead. That conservative approach has reflected in his preseason record, which sits at just 3-7, and has often resulted in slow, low-scoring games from the Eagles' side during August. On the other hand, the Cincinnati Bengals are signaling a shift in their preseason philosophy. After back-to-back seasons where they've struggled to find rhythm early in the regular season, often starting slow offensively and needing several weeks to hit their stride, head coach Zach Taylor is looking to address that by giving his starters more run in the first 2 preseason games. This includes likely snaps for quarterback Joe Burrow, who has dealt with early season inconsistencies and minor injuries in previous years, along with valuable game action for wideouts Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. The Bengals want to establish timing and chemistry now, rather than ramp up in Week 3 of the regular season when games actually count. That change in mentality could give Cincinnati a serious edge in this contest, especially if Philadelphia opts to roll out a second or third string lineup. Taylor has acknowledged the need to generate rhythm and reduce offensive rust in September, and a solid showing in the preseason opener is step 1 in that plan. Despite Taylor's underwhelming 3-12 preseason coaching record, this context makes the Bengals' approach significantly different this time around. The focus will be on establishing tempo, testing their upgraded offensive line against live competition, and giving young defenders a chance to prove they can contribute early in the season. With contract extensions and future roster decisions looming, this is a critical evaluation window for Cincinnati, and they're treating it accordingly. On the flip side, Sirianni and the Eagles are in a completely different place as a franchise. With their core largely intact and most of their depth chart set, their preseason priorities lean more toward injury prevention and bottom-of-the-roster evaluations. There's also a situational factor that shouldn't be overlooked. Motivation. Teams that lost early in the playoffs or underperformed last season often come into the preseason looking to set a tone. The Bengals, who fell short of their postseason goals in 2024, are exactly that kind of team. Young Bengals like Jermaine Burton and Dejon Anthony will bring urgency as they fight for roster spots, likely outplaying Philly's second and third units. The line move towards Cincinnati reflects bettors picking up on this edge. Despite the line move, Cincinnati holds the edge in this preseason opener, with starters expected to play and Philly taking a cautious approach amid injury concerns. The Bengals look like the sharper side. In a game where effort matters, Cincinnati's seriousness could show on the scoreboard. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Cincinnati Bengals -6.5. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Las Vegas Raiders versus Seattle Seahawks. The Raiders travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks in the first NFL preseason game for both teams. The Raiders finished last season at just 4-13 and decided to go with Super Bowl winning head coach Pete Carroll, signing him in the offseason. The Seahawks are coming off a 10-7 season, just missing the playoffs last year. They didn't sit still, bringing in a new OC, signing a new quarterback in Sam Darnold, and are in the process of revamping their wide receiver group. The Las Vegas Raiders used to be the symbol of excellence in the NFL in the 1970s and 1980s. It has been a long time since those glory days in Oakland and Los Angeles. Now in Las Vegas, the Raiders hope this is the year that things turn around after an exciting offseason. First, the Raiders named Pete Carroll as their new head coach. Carroll has a Super Bowl pedigree and brings excitement to the organization despite his advanced years. He is the 14th Raiders head coach since the team's last playoff win. Carroll will have a familiar face under center after the Raiders traded for former Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith to run the offense. Smith will have an exciting running back under center with first-round pick Ashton Jeanty ready to revive the Raiders' backfield. He also has some solid targets in W.R. Jacob Myers and superstar in the making Brock Bowers at tight end. The Raiders could have some issues at the offensive line this season, but the offense has talent. The Raiders' defense will once again be led by All-Pro defensive end Max Crosby. Crosby leads a solid defensive front that can compete with anyone. The team is a little light at linebacker and will need improvement across the board from its secondary. That said, this is a defense that was third in the NFL in points allowed back in 2023. Crosby, for one, is ready to turn the page on 2024. Of course, I'm competitive as they come. I put all my time and effort and spirit and soul into this, into being the best version of myself. Crosby told SiriusXM NFL Radio last year via NFL.com. I care about winning more than anything on the planet. So yeah, there were points in the season where I feel like I was losing my mind. Smith comes into this season as the clear number one and only for the Raiders. Last year, the team bounced around at the quarterback position, including Smith's primary backup, Aiden O'Connell. O'Connell should have the backup job sewn up with rookie Cam Miller out of North Dakota State as the only other quarterback on the roster. Those two should see plenty of action on Thursday night. O'Connell still has a lot to prove as a viable NFL quarterback, and this preseason is his chance to do just that. Still, expect a heavy dose of Miller since the Raiders aren't looking to get their only experienced backup quarterback injured. Both quarterbacks will likely be throwing to a lot of inexperienced wide receivers, with the Raiders roster full of unproven talent at that spot. On the other side of the ball, the backups will rule the day as well on Thursday. The Seattle Seahawks finished 10-7 last year under first-year head coach Mike Macdonald. just missing the playoffs. They didn't rest on their laurels, however, making several key changes this offseason to leap back into the playoffs. The Seahawks moved on from Geno Smith at quarterback, choosing instead to sign former Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold in free agency. Darnold had a breakout season last year in Minnesota after several disappointing seasons in several spots. The Seahawks added a new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who will be charged with adapting the team's offense under Darnold. Darnold will not, however, have the luxury of some key veteran receivers this year. Veteran Tyler Lockett was released, and the team traded all-pro wideout DK Metcalf to the Steelers. Darnold has a solid backfield, highlighted by Kenneth Walker III. He still has Jackson Smith and Jigba at wide receiver, and the Seahawks added veteran Cooper Kupp. Change is in the air, and the Seahawks hope that change transforms them into a playoff team again. "We kept a mentality throughout. Why are we making these decisions?" McDonald said. "If we go down this road, what does it look like? Is it best for our team? That's the criteria. It seemed like it happened really quickly, but we feel like we went through the process the right way and made the best decision for us." The Ravens front office, known for its calculated and disciplined approach, leaned heavily on analytical evaluations and internal scouting reports during the decision-making process. McDonald emphasized that the coaching staff worked collaboratively with personnel executives, keeping the team's long-term goals and culture in mind. Even though some outside observers may have viewed their moves as abrupt, the internal confidence in the path forward has remained unwavering. McDonald's comments reflect a unified vision and a commitment to maintaining the franchise's winning standard. Defense was the Seahawks' calling card back when the team was competing for Super Bowls. The defense was relatively mediocre until the halfway point last season, and then things clicked with the team ranked 6th in the NFL over the final 9 games. They showed marked improvement in pressuring the quarterback and tightening coverage on the back end. This offseason, the team added veteran edge rusher DeMarcus Lawrence, a proven disruptor who brings leadership and pass rush expertise. If Lawrence pans out, he'll give the team a formidable front four along with Leonard Williams, who remains a force inside with his blend of size and agility. Linebacker Ernest Jones IV came over halfway through the season and became a major factor for the Seahawks last season, excelling in both run defense and short area coverage. The team also drafted safety Nick Emenwari in the 2nd round to help out the secondary, adding size, physicality, and downhill tackling ability to the back end. Emenwari is expected to challenge for immediate playing time, especially in nickel packages. With this revamped unit, Seattle is hoping to return to its defensive roots and set the tone with aggressive physical play. The coaching staff has emphasized discipline and communication, aiming to create a cohesive, fast-moving defense that can adapt to multiple schemes and create turnovers. The Seahawks, like the Raiders, aren't expected to use much, if any, of their starters on either side of the ball on Thursday night. They'll certainly look to find some talent at the wide receiver spot, with Kupp and Smith and Jigba likely in street clothes. This opens the door for fringe roster players and camp standouts to showcase their abilities, particularly in the passing game. At quarterback, rookie project Jalen Milroe out of Alabama should see plenty of action. Fellow backup Drew Lock is a veteran, and the team knows what to expect from him. There's little need to put Lock at risk, especially given his extensive preseason and regular season reps in previous years. Expect the extremely athletic and potentially dangerous Milroe to get most of the reps. Milroe possesses a strong arm and elite mobility, but he's still adjusting to the speed of the pro game. He'll be playing behind a backup line, so he might show off his speed and physicality to try and keep the chains moving. His ability to escape pressure and make plays off script could make things interesting, especially against a Raiders defense that will likely be testing out younger pass rushers. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks may be playing mainly third stringers on the defensive end thanks to injuries to several backups. That depth issue could make it hard for them to contain a motivated Raiders offense, especially in the second half when fatigue sets in. The lack of experienced personnel on defense might also lead to communication breakdowns or missed assignments, which could open opportunities for big plays. Preseason games are often won in the second half by whichever team has more polished third-string players, and Seattle's injury issues could swing that advantage away from them. Raiders head coach Carroll is an emotional coach who is trying to put his stamp on this Raiders team. Carroll is 28-21 against the spread in his career during the preseason. After taking over as the Seahawks head coach following his time at USC, Carroll went 22-10 against the spread in the preseason. He's long been known for taking preseason games more seriously than many of his peers, often using them as real evaluation tools rather than simply glorified practices. In a game featuring mostly backups, Carroll's ability to draw up a defense will be critical, particularly against the Seahawks' rookie quarterback Milroe. Milroe will have to adjust on the fly to Carroll's defense, and I'm going to give the edge to the veteran coach. His aggressive fronts and disguised coverages could be difficult for a first-year quarterback to diagnose in real time, especially with the pace of a live game. On the other side of the ball, the Raiders' O'Connell will likely get to run a drive or two, and he has something to prove. He flashed potential last season and could build on that with new offensive wrinkles. If protected, don't be surprised to see him lead a scoring drive. The backup O-line has improved and may give him time to attack downfield. Early preseason games mostly come down to backup matchups. The Raiders should play inspired football to impress their veteran coach and edge out a win Thursday. Carroll will set the tone early, and fringe players will bring energy and effort, especially on defense. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Las Vegas plus 2.5. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box.